Welcome to Beyond Unmanned, Day 1 of the National Drone Safety Awareness Week. I'm your host, Harry Seto, and I am excited to introduce you to Bill Lewis, who is going to talk to you about what you need to know before you fly.
Welcome to National Drone Safety Week. I'm Bill Lewis with the North Carolina chapter of AUVSI, and I am excited to kick off this week on behalf of North Carolina AUVSI as part of the educational series that the FAA is working on, trying to educate our pilots and citizens about drones. So again, we are looking at the Learn theme today, which is the Monday theme. And so what I have prepared is a mnemonic using Learn for us as a checklist in order to get through what are some of the things a pilot should do. Beginning recreational and commercial pilots should be looking at checklists. They're quite beneficial. They make certain that we don't skip anything when we are reviewing the safety requirements of a flight. And so therefore, let's look at each of the letters of Learn and how we can associate that to our appropriate pre-flight routines in order for us to have a established safe flight. So with L, we have launch and land. And one of the things that we must be cognizant of as a pilot is that we need to have permission in order to launch and land our drone. Now, this is completely different than having airspace authorization, which we have in most cases, but it is implied that as a property owner or from public property in most cases, we have permission to fly. If we are flying somewhere else, another person's or private citizen's property, we need to make certain that we have his permission. Or in state and national parks, we might be required to have the park superintendent permission in order to have our flights. So even though we have rights to the airspace, our flights may also be in direct contradiction to other regulation. 107 is not a silo. It works with other laws and regulations, and therefore we might be incompatible with such things as wildlife protection, nesting, migratory patterns, and other types of wildlife regulations when we are trying to fly in our airspace. States and localities, municipal cities, they can legally restrict where we may launch and land. So therefore, it's important for us to do our research and understand if the ordinances may be in place for a particular area that we want to fly in. Our next letter, E, is the environment. We should ensure that our environment is conducive to safe operations. Do we have that minimal 3 miles of visibility? Are there obstacles and hazards around, such as power lines and power poles? Might there be a potential for persons entering in to our flight area that may cause us to fly over them? Are there other potential interferences that may cause communication interruptions between our remote and our aircraft? High Wi-Fi signals are the same that we are using at home for our internet services that are being used between most of our controls and our aircraft. So therefore, if we are in a heavy Wi-Fi neighborhood or area, we may have potential for disruption, which may cause us to lose communication and control of our aircraft. So if you're not familiar with an area, it might be useful for you to do a walkthrough to make certain that you are aware of any obstructions and obstacles that you may encounter while you fly. Letter A, airspace authorization. By default, through the FAA regulations, pilots do not require any additional authorizations for flights within Gulf or uncontrolled airspace. There may be a exception though when there's a TFR in effect, and we'll talk about those in just a moment. So you should check your aviation maps and understand your precise location and what the actual airspace classification is for your intended flight. There are a variety of apps out there that will provide you with this, but most importantly, the FAA provides one with the Visualize It website. So if you go there, that should be your preferred or precise information location for you to verify what your airspace is. If you're seeking to fly in either B, C, D, or E airspace where it is controlled, then you should utilize LANC or drone zone for the authorization approval process. And this is dependent upon the area and whether or not the airport regulates or participates in the LANC process. More and more airports are coming online, so this is becoming less and less of a concern. But if you utilize the Visualize It website, recognize that green gridded airports are participants in LANC, red gridded airports are not, and therefore you must use drone zone. Please do not contact the air traffic control towers. This used to be the process for pilots in order to get authorization around an airport, but now that we have LANC and drone zone established, this should be our preferred process. So that keeps disruption inside of the air traffic control tower to a minimal because they are operating through the normal processes that are established by the FAA. Our next letter R is, of course, the regulations and rules. Make certain that you are flying under the appropriate regulations and rules that you are operating under. Recreational pilots and 107 pilots have some variances between what they can and can't do. So just learning one set of rules or regulations is not as simple as being able to be applied. Most of them do overlap. One of the biggest distinctions is that recreational pilots have a hard ceiling of 400-foot AGL, whereas Part 107 pilots will have structural allowances that allow them to fly above 400 feet. So make certain that you understand as a recreational pilot, regardless of whether there's a building or other structure that you are wanting to fly above, your hard limit is 400 feet. Recreational pilots may also fly at night. Contrary to a lot of people's understanding for that, it seems counterintuitive, but for commercial purposes, if you need to fly at night, you must go through the 107 waiver process through drone zone. Now, a 107 pilot does not give up his recreational privileges. If he is just wanting to fly his drone for fun, he can also fly at night. And in fact, that's quite useful in order for you to establish some hours and experience that can be used to support your waiver request if you need to fly commercially at 107. So one of the things is make certain that you don't mix up the rules. If you are flying for recreational purposes and then all of a sudden turn into a commercial opportunity and then turn back to recreational, what you should be doing is make certain that there is a distinct pattern in your flying that can verify that you moved from recreational to commercial or back to recreational. And N, NOTAMs, notice to airmen. These are these information reports that are generated that may impact our flight operations. They're not going to be seen on our general maps. Some services such as SkyVector will put out NOTAMs, so you need to make certain that you are aware of them. But by definition, we can look at the www.notams.faa.gov website, and what we would utilize is the airport identifier for the airport that we may be flying around to see what the NOTAMs are established. Recently, with the political activities that are going on with the president, vice president, and candidates moving from back and forth, NOTAMs were very common occurrences for the campaigning areas. But wildfires and other such activities may also be NOTAM alerts that need to be aware by pilots. So again, a NOTAM though will generally override any previous provided authorization that you may have received from LANC or Drone Zone. So this one of the last things that you should be checking is to verify that you are not in conflict with the NOTAM. So this goes through our mnemonic: L, launch and land; E for environment; A, airspace; R, regulations; and N for NOTAMs. Again, thank you for your opportunity to follow us at AUVSI North Carolina on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. where we sponsor multiple events throughout the months. Most commonly are Let's Talk Drones programs. So please check us out. And thank you so much, and safe flying.
I hope you found this informative. Don't forget to join me tomorrow at the same time. So until then, like, subscribe, and share, and also follow us on Facebook. Remember, the future is within line of sight.